All right, good morning, everybody. I hope everyone's and you too. Golly, I hope everyone's having a good day, and hopefully the spray paint fumes aren't hitting you too hard. Today we're going to be taking a look at my custom Skram figure. So we start out here with the Classics Rodimus mold from my childhood, and what I'm doing here is I am giving the whole thing a complete iso alcohol wash because I had painted the thing as a kid all matte black with silver flames on the hood to try to emulate the shattered glass version of the character. And in recent years, I have been, well, recent weeks, years, golly. In recent weeks, I've been wanting to reclaim some of my collection. So, a bunch of figures that I have in my spare parts tub, I'm putting back together. And I saw that as a great opportunity to turn this into something. Now, when it came to who to turn it into, I really wasn't sure. But Skram is indeed what I landed on. So, right now, again, just giving the whole thing an iso alcohol wash. And the main thing that you need to be careful of when you're doing this is that iso alcohol can deteriorate plastic. So you will find, like on the hood here and a few other places, like maybe on the doors, where there was a lot of iso alcohol needed, it kind of wore away at the plastic and made it kind of lumpy a little bit off. It all ends up fine. And I tried sanding down some bits of it, but learning from when I did loud pedal, sanding isn't really going to be doing much. So, the other thing that you need to be aware of when you're using iso alcohol is that it will stick up your joints. So there were a couple of times in here where I was really hesitant to move a joint because it was fused. The alcohol had fused the joints together, specifically in the feet and in the hip thigh area. You gotta just be very careful. Unfortunately, I did have to use a lot. You probably won't have the same problem if you are just wiping off the original flame deco. That should be fairly straightforward. But anyway, let's fast forward through this and we will continue on with the process. Now, there was no real deconstruction aspect to this figure because the whole thing is essentially a brick. The few screws that I could get undone in like the legs did not actually help in taking the leg apart. The thing is solid. The only thing I was able to remove were the spoilers and clearly the windshield section right there. So right now what I'm doing is I'm prepping to paint the whole thing. I'm taping up the wheels and I'm taping up the orange thighs because the orange thighs worked perfectly for Skram. The other thing that I'm going to do is tape up his little like chest inserts, just because if those get painted, the paint is going to get very easily scratched. So I'm choosing to add a little bit of inaccuracy to the figure, although the red color isn't necessarily out of place. And I guess I was able to remove the arms as well. They are just on ball joints. And I did cover up the ball joints with some tape to avoid any unnecessary rub and paint buildup. Oh geez, what was the other thing that I was doing? Oh, I was taping up the feet because I like the color of the feet and I wanted to not have to paint them because, again, paint rub. So I did just take a strip of blue painter's tape and went all the way around and through and covered up the entire foot. Now, I did not prime this figure. I did sand it, but I knew the paint was going to be really thick, so I didn't want to add any unnecessary layers. So I'm going to seal it, and that's it. But anyway, here is all of the blue for Skram. And here is the masking tape that I love so much. It's literally just called masking tape. Now, it was at this point in time that my area got hit by a hurricane, so I didn't get too much work done, but what I was able to do was paint on the flames. Now, I just used a really light pink Posca marker, mainly just because I didn't want to use a brush. Posca markers are not the best thing to use for custom work, but for little flames like this, it was fine. The design for which was inspired by both the G1 pinstriping as well as the IDW flame design. So I figured this kind of like weird antler, like thin flame look was a nice combination of the two. And using the aforementioned masking tape, I was able to paint the windshield red. Covered up all the blue bits and just painted the thing red. But anyway, that's what it looks like. Let me remove the tape first so that you guys can see the final product. But yeah, it came out really, really well. And that orange masking tape that you can find at Hobby Lobby, super clean. It seals super well. You're not going to have any like paint falling under the tape like you may with blue painter's tape. Now, I didn't film it, but I did add a bunch of silver details. I painted his entire head silver, as well as giving him red eyes. I painted the engine block silver, the headlights, the exhaust pipes, and the rear bumper. And then, as you saw previously, I went ahead and sealed the whole thing with some Mr. Hobby matte sealer. And now we can begin the de-tapifying process, as well as a little bit of reconstruction. There are a few things that I did. One was lose the screw that that connects to the windshield to the body. I had to go digging through my spare random screw jar, but luckily I was able to find one that works. Those orange spoiler bits in the back, I also took a Dremel and sliced off the actual spoiler. I was just going to leave the components off entirely, but they are essential to tabbing the feet, the legs together in vehicle mode, so I had to keep them. Luckily, they were orange and they fit the color scheme, so there you go. And here is Skram all done up. And I will admit that this may not be my best custom, but it is certainly better than what it was. Few more things I did. I panel lined the engine a little bit. I also went and panel lined the crest of his head just to give it a little bit more definition. But as you can see, the red bits came out looking pretty well. The Posca paintwork is a little bit but overall I'm super happy with how this figure came out. So there we have it. Thank you guys for watching. If you would like to see more photos and more customs, you can find me on Instagram at Good and Evil Transformers. And in the meantime, you guys, stay tuned for the next video. I'll see you later.